Hello, everybody, and thank you for downloading episode 125 of We Got This with Mark and Hal. This is the week. If you are listening to this before Friday, the 21st of July, there's still time, Philadelphia, New Jersey, New York, and Delaware, to come see Mark and I live as part of the Philadelphia Podcast Festival. We've got Maureen Johnson joining us, and you can get tickets at the door or at hallublin.com. For now, please enjoy episode 125 of We Got This with Mark and Hal.
Hello, I'm Hal Lublin.
And I'm Mark Gagliardi.
Since the dawn of humanity, one issue has gone unsettled. With the fate of the world in the balance, we're here to settle, once and for all, best cartoon cat.
That's right. Don't worry, everyone. We got this.
Podcasts should have a theme song. Podcasts should not have a theme song. Yes, they should. No, they shouldn't. They sound good. Yeah, but people are just going to skip past it. You know what? You're right. We got this.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, listeners. Hal, this is another exciting episode. We are in a place that we've never been before.
I've never been here, but I'm instantly happy. This is like my happy place that I never knew existed.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking right now at the cat clock with the eyes and tail that function as the pendulum.
Yeah.
There is so much fun stuff. Why is there so much fun stuff to look at in here?
Well, it's because we're in the home of our guest, who, you know, from his countless credits, Batman the Animated Series. I'm looking at a bunch of his Emmys right now.
Yeah.
It's Paul Dini.
Hello.
Hi, Paul. Thank you for doing the show with us. This is very exciting for us.
I also have to specify a lot of this comes from my wife, Misty Lee, magician Misty Lee, who is not here. She's off rehearsing for her big show in July, but she sends her regards. And, so this is sort of like a melting, place of whimsy here between the magic and the weirdness. We've got quite a lot of stuff.
Look, these are all our particular favorite nerddoms, so we are in heaven right now.
You combine into a beautiful melange.
Yes.
Where is Misty's big magic show in July?
It's going to be at the El Portal Theater in North Hollywood.
Beautiful theater.
Bold magic, and it's going to to be great. Yeah.
It's crazy. I've known Misty for, I'd say, 10 plus years through Second City in Los Angeles.
Right.
And
now she's doing a show where they do comedy sports.
Yes. But bringing like class to it.
Yeah.
So I got to check that out. I don't think I've ever seen her perform magic before.
Well, a lot of what she does is at the Magic Castle, so that's, private club.
A very fun place, though.
Yes.
One of my favorite spots to visit.
And for the last 3 years, she was performing out at Morongo Casino on Friday nights. She had a regular gig out there, November, December, every Friday. She was a host of a magic show, and she and her girls would put on a big show there. And everybody can see her the week before, a few days before her show, because she's going to be on Penn and Teller Fool Us.
Ooh,
and,
awesome!
So we went to Las Vegas earlier this year, and she was on stage with them and did a trick and came off very well. So that's all I can say.
Very exciting. Oh,
that's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
You can't say too much.
No, you can't.
But we're not here to talk magic.
No.
Although I understand we may be coming back to this house to talk magic.
Oh, yes.
In the
there's a little magic thing.
Not too immediate future.
There's a bunny coming out of a hat.
There's kind of magic everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
In this house.
A little bit here and there, yeah.
But we're here to talk about cats, more specifically cartoon cats. And you, not only Batman the Animated Series, you've written, can you give us just some of your CV?
If you watched a cartoon between 1980 and today, I probably worked on it. At some point. I started while I was in college. I got a job writing Saturday morning cartoons simply because they had a lot of work at the time and they were looking for people. And I was a cartoonist at Emerson College in Boston where I was going to school. So, I got a chance to meet the guys at Filmation Studio and they said, why don't you write for us long distance? And so that was kind of a neat way to end my senior year, was by writing, things like Mighty Mouse, which had some cats in it, and, Fat Albert, and, what was also doing? Flash Gordon, things like that.
Oh, so, I remember that stuff. Yeah.
It'd be like I would go to rehearsal for the school show that I was in because I was also acting, and it's like, what are you doing? And it's like, I'm writing cartoons, and so I would go and sing, and then I would go back and pound out ideas for cartoons. And then I moved out full time around 83 and and worked on Masters of the Universe, worked on Scooby-Doo, some Hanna-Barbera stuff, everything they were doing at the time because they were just selling tons of shows. Mm-hmm. And then I went up to San Rafael and worked at Lucasfilm for about 5 years when they were doing Ewoks, droids. They were starting their game division. Pixar was getting started. So there was a lot of activity there, and everybody's kind of looking over each other's shoulders. Then I got a chance to come back to LA and work on Tiny Toon Adventures. My good pal Tom Ruger called me up, who I'd met at Filmation Studios years before. He was producing the show with Gene McCurdy and Steven Spielberg, and he was putting together a team of artists and writers and some really amazing people on that show. Sherry Stoner, Nick Hollander, Paul Rugg, Bruce Timm, Art Vitello, so many great talents who came around, who were working on both Tiny Toons and Animaniacs at that time. And so after doing Tiny Toons for a couple of years, Batman came up, and I worked on the development on that show, and Alan Burnett came on, and I'd kind of wandered away from Batman for a while because it was in development. Nobody was really sure about the tone of the show or what it was going to be. And Alan came in and he said, I'd really like to have you writing on the show. So I wrote a couple of episodes. I was off working on another project, and I had so much fun doing it and working with Alan that I agreed to come back full time on staff. And so worked on Batman as a writer, story editor, second batch of episodes. I was a producer, and that led to Superman and Batman Beyond and Duck Dodgers and Justice League and just about everything that we did over at Warner Brothers to about 2004. And then I left for the most part, and I would do things. I worked 2 years on Lost when that was starting up, and I did my own show called Tower Prep, which was on Cartoon Network for about 10 minutes. And then and now I'm just working on everything. So we've got comics and books and some movie stuff in the works.
I had to stop myself at the beginning of that list from going, oh man, I love that show, because I realized early on that I was going to say that to every show that you mentioned.
Oh, thank you.
So that is really, really, really cool. Yeah. So what better guy to talk about cartoons with?
Yeah.
Many of these cartoons you probably drew.
If not, I watched them.
Yeah.
So I've seen them.
So we're talking today about cartoon cats.
Yes. Yeah. This was suggested by Adam Kenyon.
Hello, Adam Kenyon.
Hey, Adam Kenyon.
Thank you for the suggestion. This is a fun one. I like this. Mm-hmm. If you guys don't mind, because we've got all our research from Kate McManus, our brilliant researcher, in front of us right now. And, if I could just put a little bit of order to the list.
Yeah.
Why don't we try this chronologically? Okay. And we will get your thoughts on each of these cats as we go through.
I mean, we could go all the way back to Felix and
1919. Yes. That's where we're going to start.
That's the first.
We're going to start with the oldest cat on the list, Felix the cat.
Felix the cat.
Who is actually the inspiration for that clock that I mentioned earlier, the Felix clock.
Yeah.
It is a very iconic black and white cat. From was this the first animated cat?
I believe so. There was a slew of very generic looking creatures around that time, and you can go back, and I'm sure you can find like a laughogram version of Puss in Boots that Walt Disney did. In fact, I think there was one. So he was drawing cartoon cats probably around 1921, 22 with his very first things. But, Felix was 1919. Walt would have been about 18. So, yeah, I'd say that was the first. And I think that it was a good choice of a character because he was mostly black and he was like a big kind of smudge with a smile on his face and a tail that he could use as a question mark. And
that's right.
And around that time, I think they also made a deal to do Crazy Cat as a cartoon, but it was kind of Crazy Cat in name only. It did not it lacked the appeal and the whimsy of the George Harriman strip.
Yeah, Felix the Cat is one of those characters that I feel like modern audiences are not familiar with at all.
Right.
But he was the sly trickster before Bugs Bunny.
Sure.
And so many other characters that followed that lineage. And there were characters in print before him, but he and his bag of tricks are sort of a quintessential piece of animation history.
Yeah.
And it's hard to... not to stop the episode now and say he's the greatest cat of all time, because he may or may not be, but he's certainly one of those characters that warrants going a lot further into the discussion.
Well,
He's
yeah.
the George Washington.
Yeah, I mean, he was pure cartoon. He didn't speak, and so everything was in his reactions or in his emotions. If he wanted to express himself, he could take off his tail and make it a question mark or an exclamation point, or use it as a cane or something like that. So that's the pure essence of cartoon. And he's a character, I think, that even though they've tried to revive him periodically, he's a character who I think exists now mostly as a name, because people still know the name, and a design. And certain characters are like that. They kind of lose, I don't want to say their place in the public consciousness, but they sort of evolve into more of a design than an actual character. That you can see Felix, you know who he is. He's on the car dealership here. Felix, what is it, Cadillac downtown or Felix?
Yeah.
There's
Felix
a Felix
Chevrolet.
Oh, yeah,
Chevrolet.
that's right.
Yeah.
And you can still see him there, and they still have mascots of him. And I believe there's still Felix merchandise and toys you can buy.
Sure.
But, again, he's in a situation where he would have to compete in entertainment wise with things like Family Guy and BoJack Horseman and things like that. So he'd have to be reinvented. I don't know if you could go back and do the same cartoons. And the question is, if you make him something else, does he again become Felix in name only? And, do you have to update him beyond the point where he is, true to himself, which is that sort of pure, like you said, impish cartoon spirit?
What do you think makes a great cartoon character in general? Because I think obviously whichever cat is going to win this is going to be a great character.
Right.
What are those elements?
Well, there has to be an element of, you have to see something human and relatable in every character, and cats in particular. And I think cats and dogs are great characters for humans to empathize with, because at some point in their life, pretty much everybody has owned either a cat or a dog. And you can, the cat is, sometimes he's the put upon character because he's got a dog menacing him. And so the cat has to be fast and quick witted in order to survive. In many cases, the cat is the aggressor because he's picking on an animal smaller than himself, like a bird or a mouse, which is an interesting question, because in real life, there was a mouse or a rat running around in here. Nobody would want it in here. And then, a cat would chase it out and like, good kitty. But in a cartoon, it's always been a question of scale. The big guy is always the meaner guy. So Tom is always the aggressor of Jerry, who's cute.
Right.
Pete is the bully and we didn't put, Pete's not on the list.
Pete Puma.
No, Black Pete. Pete.
Yeah.
Because he technically is a cat.
I always think
this is Mickey's nemesis.
Mickey's nemesis. Yeah.
He looks like a dog to me, and I never think of him.
He looks like a bulldog. He looks like Tank, actually.
Yeah.
But he actually is a cat, because I believe what happened was when Walt was making Oswald, he had kind of like a big character. It might have been a bear who had a peg leg, and then he redesigned him to be more cat-like. And then when he started doing Mickey, made him the captain in Steamboat Willie. And he realized, okay, Mickey's a small, little, impish guy. The cat's a big, heavy. And so Pete became more of an adversary. He lost a lot of his cattishness. He had the peg leg would come and go. Sometimes even in the comics, it claimed it was a prosthetic leg because it was too hard using the peg leg. And he's always been, there with Mickey, off and on throughout his long history. But again, he's got that big, heavy Wallace Beery jaw. He's got very little of an actual cat in him. He's just sort of the big guy. Even though it's interesting now, if you watch the new shorts that Paul Rudish and his team are doing, the Mickey Mouse shorts that are running on online.
Which I love those.
Yeah.
I feel like Mickey in those has gotten back to what he was. Like the 80s and 90s Mickey was always in a tuxedo and very charmingly
right.
gentlemanly introducing things.
Yeah.
Right.
Now he's back to...
He's doing stuff.
Yeah. He's having fun.
Yeah. And the latest one that they just put out was Mickey, Donald, and Goofy are going to the old swimming hole to start their summer, and they get there and there's a hole in the ground and Pete's stolen it. He's tearing off with it in a big truck, and it's like, so long, you little runt. And he looks very cattish throughout it. When he laughs, his ears go straight up, and he's actually drawn with a tail now, because they went back and they made Goofy more like his old dippy dog persona. And so they made Pete, he's a big cat. So if there was ever any doubt.
Much bigger than the dog version of Goofy. The dippy dog version of Goofy.
Yeah. So he's, cats make really good big adversaries for small, appealing guys. So, Mickey always, even when they made him human, Pete was fighting Donald Duck or Goofy. He was always, even though he lost most of his cattishness, he always read as the big, burly, mean guy.
Yeah, I think a lot of the cats on this list, maybe it's 50-50. A lot of the cats here are the heavies.
Yeah.
And some they're either the heavies, they're like dominant and kind of smug.
Right.
Or they're just sort of, like, Snowball from The Simpsons, the many iterations of Snowball, not going to win, but just sort of exists in the background. It's not a great pet, particularly.
And then you've got weirdos like the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland. You don't know what he's about. He's just, but he's a great character. He's beautifully designed, and
that voice,
Sterling Holloway's voice on him is just perfect.
Yeah.
And is he a friend? Is he an ally? Is he a menace? Is he just out of his freaking mind? Which he kind of admits he is. But the interesting thing about the Cheshire Cat, Ward Kimball, Walt's great director, especially for extreme characters, was responsible to a great degree for the Cheshire Cat. And Alice in Wonderland is a weird movie where the Cheshire Cat almost doesn't read, because the thing that's distinctive about him is his big grin. But every character in that movie is designed to look loony and over the top and is grinning like an idiot. But Kimball said the thing that made the cat read was that while the Mad Hatter and the March Hare and the Queen of Hearts are over the top and trying to fight each other for the wildest emotions, the cat's just sort of laid back and cool. He's got the big grin, and it's like, well, you don't know where you're going. It doesn't matter where you go. And so that gives him this kind of cool, creepy air to him. And it's no mystery to me why that character has caught on in the last 10, 20 years. Like, he's everywhere in merchandising, and he's really, that whole movie has kind of bounced back from obscurity.
Do you think it was partly because of the Tim Burton remakes? I know the Cheshire Cat in that looked similar to the way the Cheshire Cat was drawn in older illustrations.
Yeah, the Tennille ones from the old, or the Arthur Rackham. I think that helped quite a bit. I also think it was time for it to come back because here's an interesting thing. I think that Walt considered Alice to be a rare failure. He wasn't really happy with it. The story didn't have a likable protagonist in his eyes because there was nothing really for Alice to achieve other than sort of surviving and commenting on the weirdness. And the characters she encounters are all oddly aggressive toward her or just unhelpful. Like, the Mad Hatter is really not a friend to her. And the March Hare is just nuts. The Queen of Hearts is actively murderous. So, and everybody else is kind of ambivalent to her. So he felt there was no character to really root for, and he felt Alice was a little distant herself. So it wasn't like Cinderella. You empathize with her simply because she's kind to the mice and everybody's mean to her.
Right.
But I think that as years go on and Alice was made available first on video and then on television, I think kind of through osmosis, because it was one of the features you could see on a regular basis, people wound up keeping that a little bit more in their memory. I also just think it's time for it, that people are into something that is not quite as pat and safe and wholesome. And Alice's story is about, journey through discovery and through imagination. And I think that reads with a modern audience very well. So I think that the characters really respond to that. And then Tim Burton picked up on it and did his own take, which is widely popular as well. So, yeah.
While we're talking about the Disney, the Disney collection of cartoon cats, let's give some honorable mentions to some, if you have any cats that are in this collection of cats. Now, these are not house cats, so much. Actually, the Aristocats are, but I've got all of the Lion King characters in front of me: Simba, Nala, Mufasa, Scar. The Aristocats, Marie, Toulouse, Berlioz, Duchess, and Abraham de Lacy, Giuseppe, Casey, Thomas, O'Malley.
And Scat Cat and his gang of.
Sure. And Everybody Wants to Be a Cat, that band. Is incredible.
Right. Yeah. With the oddly incongruous hippie cats and Italian cats. And, it was at a time where it's like, is this a insensitive caricature or is it all in good fun? And it really it was really straddled the line there with all the weird ethnic cats and stuff.
You also got Shere Khan. from 1967's
Great character.
The Jungle Book. Great villain.
Great villain. I've got a cell of him actually in the bathroom.
Really?
Yeah, I'm fighting Baloo. Baloo's frantically hanging onto his tail and Shere
Oh,
Khan's
yeah.
just turning to, slash out.
Sure.
The first time I ever took an animation voiceover class in LA, we learned, I studied under Jim Ward and Kat Cressida.
Oh.
And they taught voice matching because they're two really great voice matching people. So the voice match they gave me was George Sanders as Shere Khan.
Wow.
That was the first voice match I ever did.
Let's hear some Shere Khan.
Oh boy. Shere Khan lives down here.
Yes.
Deep down. Very deep. See, I haven't heard it.
Very good.
No,
Very good.
It's a good
but
Shere Khan. It's terrifying.
The great honor of my life, which like everything in voiceover did not bring me any work, was the Brian Nevsky who does the voice stuff for the parks.
Sure.
Listen, he was like, "Oh, he's a better voice match than the guy we have. I wish we had met him when we were casting."
Wow.
Which they did not. They had well casted, and that guy will live until one day after I die.
All right,
Shere Khan's power is all in contempt. He knows how powerful he is. He knows he doesn't have to snarl or growl.
he's such a gentleman.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
And you know what? He ain't wrong.
No.
He's not wrong in his point of view. Mowgli is going to become a threat to him.
Yeah, the man cub will become a threat to the entire jungle.
Have you seen the decreasing number of tigers in the world? Shere Khan definitely had a point. I mean, how he went about it was might have been a little extreme, but
a little much.
Yeah.
It's like the Javan tiger, the Bali tiger, Caspian tiger are all extinct, and the others are kind of hanging on. So he did have a point, but again, very ruthless of how he made it.
Yes.
Are there any other Disney ones that we want to give shout outs? So we have Foulfellow and Figaro, or not Figaro, Foulfellow and
Gideon.
Gideon.
Yeah, Gideon, kind of weird. He's sort of like an evil Harpo Marx type character.
Yeah.
I love Foulfellow and Gideon. I love Foulfellow in particular.
Are they cats? Is one of them a fox and one's a cat?
Yeah, Foulfellow is a fox. Jay Worthington Foulfellow. He's a fox, and he's very intelligent, and he appears to be very intelligent, but he can't spell Pinocchio's name, or probably even his own. And Gideon is his slow-witted henchman, who's
a cat. Yes.
Yeah, Gideon, as I was telling the Duchess just yesterday, and his partner in crime. And there's this great exchange between the two of them where they're talking about Stromboli. Remember that time I tied strings on you and tried to pass you off as a puppet? Ha ha ha! And they're laughing about that. And then I was thinking, and then later on they get Pinocchio and they sell him to Stromboli, and you never see that scene. And I always think well, Stromboli, we got a living puppet for you. Never mind that. I got a talking fox.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then Gideon just collects the money and runs away.
To a collection of humans who are enthralled by a puppet.
Yeah.
A talking fox would be a big deal.
Yeah, he goes, look at that, a living puppet without strings. You're a talking fox, and you're wearing clothes. I mean, Figaro doesn't talk. I mean, well, Gideon doesn't talk either. So I don't know. There's suspension of disbelief is needed in that one. But Figaro himself is a very cute character. One of Walt's favorites because he liked the impishness of him, and Lucifer and Cinderella, the nasty cat who menaced the mice and those guys. Yeah. So, and Tibbs, it was a favorite of mine. Very obscure character, but he was
Tibbs?
Tibbs was in 101 Dalmatians. He's a little gray cat who saves the puppies, who helps save the puppies.
101 Dalmatians I just watched recently because I'm working my way through the whole Disney canon chronologically. It is. That is one when I watched, I was like, oh, this was a turning point for these guys.
Yeah.
Because the animation in this is so cool.
Yeah.
Like before that, all the animation, like with Bambi, it had to look real.
Yeah.
With the fairy tales, it had to look magical.
Yeah.
And with 101 Dalmatians, it just looks cool.
And there's a dirtiness to it.
Well, it's the Xeroxing, because the Xeroxing captures all they didn't, I don't know if they inked it the traditional way. They think they shot the pencils from the Xeroxes or they Xerox the pencils, one or the other. And so that preserved a lot of the animators' lines. You see some of that scratchiness in it. And that was something that held over into things like The Wonderful World of Color when they would do Ludwig von Drake and animation directly for the show. And I always felt that it gave the quality of the artwork, a real zip because you could see that underneath there. And I worked on a project for Disney not long ago where we actively tried to revive that style, but unfortunately didn't go. So,
jeez.
It fell by the wayside.
So let me ask you this: out of these Disney,
yes.
Now that because there aren't a lot of Disney cats on our list that we originally had in front of us, so I didn't want to give short shrift to the animated juggernaut of Disney.
Right.
Are there any cats that are going to come out of this that may make our final 2 or 3 as one of the all-time great animated cats? I mean, there's some great characters in here. The Cheshire Cat is an amazing character. Mm-hmm. Pete is an amazing adversary for Mickey, but are these going to beat a Sylvester or
I don't think so. I mean, I think
Tom.
Tom, simply by sheer volume of the cartoons and the way they've starred in them. Disney's cats have been for the most part supporting players and really good ones, and occasionally a lead in a cartoon like Oliver, is another good cat.
Oh yeah.
But by and largely, when you talk about short cartoons, you've got Figaro and it was only in a handful of cartoons, and none of them really reached the stature of, say, Pluto or Donald
Right. Yeah.
Duck,
Now they have Lion Guard, but that's relatively new. So none of those are going to come in and knock any of these other cats off their feet.
No.
Well, it's good that we mentioned him because now we're going to jump back into our timeline after our brief diversion to Disney. We're going to go back into our timeline. Mm-hmm. It is now 1940, and that is the introduction of Thomas Jasper Cat.
Yes.
Better known as Tom of Tom and Jerry fame.
And I actually think that Tom, if he's not the top, is in the top 3 because he simply longevity and appeal, and he's just funny. He's a great cat. I've actually written quite a few things with Tom and Jerry. I wrote 2 direct-to-videos, 3. No, we'll see if the 3rd one gets going. But I wrote 2 and I worked here and there on some short cartoons. And I always liked working with Tom and Tom and Jerry. And I always can find something for him to do. And I always love putting myself in the headspace of that cat.
What is the headspace of Tom?
Yeah.
Tom is basically, I always think of him, and Spike Brandt, who directs a lot of the Tom and Jerry's currently for Warner's. We share the same thinking that Tom is really Jerry's older brother. It's less a cat and mouse and more of an older sibling and a younger sibling. And Jerry is the one who gets by being cute and appealing and quick-witted. And Tom is the big dumb older brother who's no longer looked upon as quite so cute. And so it's a lot of even if they're fighting over food or they're, trying to one up each other, I always think of it as sort of like big kid, little kid. And I feel that they're very childlike and they have that kind of whimsical appeal. And so in the cartoons where I've written where they actually are together, and work, and they have to, for whatever reason, work together, they're willing to do it to a point. But as soon as there's a moment of strife between them, they're back to being Tom and Jerry. If they have to recover a treasure and Tom will go after it and he'll pick it up and he'll want it, and Jerry will be the one who goes nudges him, hey, put it down, and he'll just flatten him, and then Jerry will come back and it starts again, and they realize, hey, we have to actually accomplish something here. It's hard for me at least to write them as adversaries throughout like a 90-minute feature because, they'd be at cross purposes and they don't talk. So it's better, I found, if they can, when I wrote one called, Tom and Jerry's Giant Adventure, which was basically a modern retelling of, Jack and the Beanstalk. Mm-hmm. And we came up with an interesting premise. Rather than set it in medieval times and in old England, like the old fairy tale, we set it in contemporary times in like one of those little Santa's Village type, Mother Goose, amusement parks by the side of the road. And they're the only animals still in the petting zoo because it's fallen on a hard time. So the little boy who takes the role of Jack is their pal. And it was important when I was writing it and when Spike and Tony Cervoni did the direction on it, we all kept in mind, Jerry likes the boy, Tom likes the boy, but they hate each other. Yeah. So, but for the sake of the boy, they're willing to at least be in the same space together and work.
Sure, they're the divorced parents of cartoons.
Yes, basically. Yeah. That was fun because we were able to take all the other MGM characters and give them supporting roles like Screwy Squirrel and Red Hot Riding Hood and, Barney Bear. And it's fun. It's fun dragging those characters out of obscurity and using them, especially Screwy Squirrel.
Tom's and Jerry both have had a really interesting arc as characters because the theatrical shorts, which obviously I was too young to see when they were in theaters, but watched when I was a kid.
Yeah.
There's such a demarcation between that and I guess the early 60s.
Yeah.
Because they were so hyper violent. I mean, tails are getting chopped off. He's being set on fire. He's being shot. And then by the time it's the 60s, the opening credits of the Tom and Jerry show, they're shaking hands. And I'm like, what is this?
Yeah. Well, I think what it happened, and I'll tell you exactly. And I asked Mr. Barbera about this because Joe Barbera in his later years and Mr. Hanna as well, they had kind of like emeritus positions with Warner Brothers because Turner bought Hanna-Barbera. So they shuttered the old Hanna-Barbera studio on Cahuenga Boulevard, and they were given a suite of offices over in Sherman Oaks where we were all working. And I got to know Mr. B pretty well, and I think what happened was I got to meet him as a friend and not as an employee, so we were able to sort of, and I was producing my own stuff and he was, and we had some common friends, so we wound up going to lunch fairly often. And one day, I brought a copy of his book and I wanted him to sign it. I said, well, and I thought I pushed my luck. I said, you feel like drawing something today? And maybe I'll get a sketch out of him. Yeah. See if he can actually draw, like some of these guys, you weren't sure if they actually drew their stuff. He goes, yeah, sure. And he drew a flawless Tom and Jerry. I mean, it was like muscle memory for him. It was Jerry like this and Tom like, little
he'd done it once or twice before.
I mean, it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And I'm going like, oh God, I love these guys. And I said to him, I got to tell you, there's one cartoon you did as a kid. And it really upset me. He goes, yeah, I know. Pauvre Pussycat. And I go, that's the one.
Wow.
And it's the Two Musketeers. Mm-hmm. And, if you remember that cartoon, it's Jerry and Tuffy as musketeers in France. And Tom is given an order, keep the mice away from the king's banquet or it's the guillotine. And at the end, of course they humiliate Tom and they get away with the food. They're walking away and they're singing a song. And you look and there's this rather dramatic shot of the guillotine blade raising in silhouette and it comes down. And you know that Tom has just been killed and he's not going to pop up again. And the mice kind of gulp and they go like, oh well, they walk off. And as a kid, I remember watching that and I'm going to my mom like, what? And she goes, well, he'll live to fight again. That's what she said. Or he'll be back. They always come back. And at the same time, I was going like, that kind of creeped me out. I don't want to watch that cartoon again because I don't want to know that he gets killed. It's one thing if he gets chased off or devoured by a dog or if there's a big fight cloud and you fade in. But it's another thing to have it, like shown in such a way.
A very dramatic invention. Like this is an invention of death that we're putting in a cartoon.
I mean, it's not the same thing, but it was an idea that sort of went through I think collectively our heads. I certainly thought about it when we did the Batman episode Robin's Reckoning. We couldn't show the Graysons dying, but we did show the trapeze swinging back that it had been cut, and you hear a musical sting even though we couldn't have the audience react or hear a thud or anything. But the idea that something has happened and you can't see it makes it more vivid in your memory than if you actually saw it.
Sure. My most vivid Disney movie death is from Tarzan. And it's all in a shadow.
Oh yeah, when Clayton falls. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the way to do it. It's sometimes it has more impact than just, the dragon getting the blade in the chest and falling over. But Tom, if nothing, a very resilient, cat. And he's the emotion in his acting, cause he rarely spoke, was always spot on. And I think that after they kind of worked out the kinks in the first 5 or 6 cartoons, there was really kind of like a prime area of Tom and Jerry that went to probably about 55 or so. And the emotion on him was always great. Even when he was being kind of an asshole, he was engaging, he was fun. The scream on him was great. That perfect pitch, was always fun. And you didn't have a lot of sympathy for him, but you sure enjoyed him. And I guess you had a little sympathy for him, like in cartoons like, Pecos Pest, where Jerry's, cousin, where his uncle Pecos comes to visit and he keeps plucking Tom's whiskers.
Oh, yeah. What do I do? Crambone?
Come on. come here, get in the guitar string. And there's kind of a fun little sequence, when he's on TV, Jerry and Tom are kind of watching TV together, and Tom's like, he's really grumpy, and then he snaps a string, but he's somehow able to reach through the TV and get the last one. So, Tom is great. I love Tom. And when I work on a Tom and Jerry, cartoon, I'll never be an animator. I'm not really a great artist, but I can sketch a little bit. And when I write a Tom and Jerry, the first thing I do is break out a legal pad and just start drawing them. And I start drawing little stick figures, and I try and come up with little bits of action and little, ideas for little set pieces, because I think anybody can kind of fake their way through Tom and Jerry. And then I take what I've written, and then I type it up and give it to the artists. But it all, for me, because those characters are so physical, I actually have a lot of fun drawing them in a sketch pad and figuring out what they're going to do.
All right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So that is a good vote for Tom.
Yeah. He's obviously going to the finals.
Yeah.
There's no way you don't take Tom.
Speaking of,
I wrote something recently about them. I don't know if I should talk about it or not, but it's sort of about, Tom is Tom at his best when he's with Jerry. And actually I wrote something where they tried solo careers, and I don't know if that's going to get made or not. And they're really not that strong without each other. I mean, it's like, but
peanut butter's pretty good. Jelly's pretty good. But
but together they're magical.
Magic.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally.
So 1 year later.
Yes.
After the 1940 creation of Tom, an early version in 1941 appeared of a certain character who was officially part of the canon by 1945.
Yeah.
I'm talking, of course, in the Looney Tunes canon of Sylvester James Pussycat Sr.
Yes.
A tuxedo cat, most famous for his appearances with Tweety Bird.
Yes.
This one for me, I mean, I'm a huge Looney Tunes fan. Yeah. This for me gets an automatic bye to the finals along with Tom.
I think the two of them are going to be fighting out for the top spot. And I kind of give the edge to
By the way, listeners, in our discussion of cats, there are two of the world's most adorable dogs. Running around in this room. And
Pixie in the tank, and Pixie's come to offer her opinion.
Pixie in the tank. What do you think, Pixie?
Who is the best cartoon cat? Whichever one runs the slowest.
There you go.
There you go.
Good girl.
She's being so stoic. She really doesn't want to tip her paw on this one and let us know.
So let's talk about Sylvester.
Sylvester is just a wonderful creation. And I think even though he looks a little different in the cartoon, I think where he really came into his own is in the cartoon, Kitty Cornered by Bob Clampett. And that's the Porky Pig cartoon where he's throwing the cats out for the night. And there are 4 different cats. And one is clearly Sylvester, except he's got a black nose instead of a red nose. Mm-hmm. And there's a drunken cat and a little kitten and everything. But that's the first time I believe you hear him really going like, tonight we were booted out. We were scared out of the house. Are we men or mice? And the little one goes, I like cheese. And he hits him. And he comes, I've got an idea. And that's the first time you really hear Mel go off. And he's got the great slurring thing in his voice. And Sylvester is just kind of out of his mind in that one. He's the leader of this group of really nasty, funny cats. And he's the most adaptable of the Looney Tunes players because, simply, Sylvester and Tweety, we know, and that's, everybody knows that. But he's also got Hippity Hopper, the kangaroo, and he's got, Speedy Gonzales. And,
he's also not the big bully. He's the medium sized in, at least one cartoon. Mm-hmm. Where you've got, isn't there, what was the one with the big dog? Was it Spike? Oh yeah, Spike and Chester. Chester. Yeah, he's the victim in those cartoons. There are a couple where he's just the victim and he has to get through it. He has to get through the ordeal. And he is an adaptable character in that he can just be in a situation where a cat would find themselves and does not need Speedy or Tweety to play off or victimize. There was a cartoon that we looked at early on that was an inspiration in a lot of ways for some of the cartoons we did in Tiny Toons called A Kitty's Kitty, where there's a little girl named Suzanne,
and who's like a prototype of Elmira. She doesn't really look like her, and she's not as over the top as Elmira. She's actually a very sweet little girl, but she just doesn't know how to care for a cat. And so and she's actually kind of mild-mannered. Oh, Kitty, I've got to do this. I've got to do that. And Sylvester runs into her house because there's a dog chasing him. And everything the kid does to the poor cat, she like freezes him in the icebox. She murders him 1,000 times over without really meaning to. But she's, at the end, Sylvester is, frantically running down the street, whistling for the dog to chase him. And, that's really good. Oh, and we're forgetting another series that he was in. The Porky cartoons where he is, Porky's pet, and he doesn't really talk in those, but those are the creepy ones where they wind up in the hotel being menaced by the mice or kidnapped by Martians or something like that. He's brilliant in those.
He can play sidekick. He can play adversary.
He's kind of a hero in those.
Yeah.
He's the protector of Porky Pig.
And other than, suffering succotash or a line here or there, he just doesn't really talk to Porky that much. And he's also a great swashbuckling villain, like in the Scarlet Pumpernickel.
That's right.
I once had a chance to ask Chuck if I say, here, we're doing Tiny Toons. We were doing Tiny Toons at the time, and we'll have story meetings where the directors will get together with the story people and we're figuring things out. Did you ever do that? Did you ever get in a room with Freeling or McKimson and say, oh, I'm going to do a Bugs cartoon and you're doing a Bugs cartoon, figure out where you were going with the characters? And he gave me kind of like a odd look and said, the only thing he said was, my Sylvester didn't talk.
Wow.
like that was as much as he thought about it. Like everybody else, you do, I don't care what you're doing with Bugs. I don't care what you're doing with Daffy. I'm just doing this. But that was really the only thing he said about it. Was like the only difference between was he kept Sylvester mute or just talking to himself. And it was a really clever thing because he brought out a level of emotion in Sylvester that none of the other directors ever did. It is, and it isn't the same Sylvester who's got Sylvester Jr. or who is, menacing Tweety Bird. It is Sylvester as kind of like Bob Hope in Ghostbreakers or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's a guy who's terrified and reacting as best he can. In a way, he shares more with Wile E. Coyote and his frustrations. So,
in that sort of singularity of focus that he can have too. His Tweety cartoons are my favorite because of that simple but impossible task.
Yes.
It's you have this one objective. It's the same thing that Wile E. Coyote has.
Yeah.
Get that objective by any means. Mm-hmm. And also we're going to laugh hilariously while you fail it.
Also, and in the Freeling cartoons, Sylvester has the greatest reactions, like where something will go wrong and he'll flash a little smile at Granny and then run or something, or he's always trying to get away with something. And the cartoon where he's with Rocky and Muggsy is really good when he's trying to get the bird back, and he's actually trying to get Tweety back to eat him. Yeah. But he's they think he's trying to rescue the bird and everything like that. He's a terrific character, and there's nothing you can't do with him, really.
Isn't there an episode or a short where he thinks that Tweety Bird has died and he's like stricken with grief over it? Am I remembering that correctly? Where he's in tears?
It was his fault.
It's odd to think of like how many different, because by and large, a lot of cartoon characters seem to sit in their box. This is sort of the function I serve, and this is my general range of character. But he's got a pretty wide range that they've explored with him over the tenure of his existence.
Yeah, that one was, I think, a later one, and it was sort of a parody of Alfred Hitchcock, because you had this silhouette of a bear. It kind of looked like Hitchcock talking about, oh, you've murdered him, you've eaten him, and he thought he had, and he's up late at night and going through paranoia. It's a little bit like Birds Anonymous, but in this one, I think you're right. He's actually convinced he's killed him.
Yeah.
There were times they would, they change it up a little bit. There's one that I liked an awful lot when I was a kid, because it was a rare time you saw them as friends. They're actually living together up at Granny's cabin in the mountains, and you see them snuggled up together, and Granny's coming to feed them, but there's a snowstorm and it's cut her off from the mountains, so there's a chance they're going to starve. But you see them cuddled up together, and he kind of looks at him and pats him, and Tweety smiles, then Sylvester kisses him, and then kind of licks his lips, and then he slaps himself, and then he goes back to And then it's like, I can't do it. But then it's like, they hear on the radio, the roads could be closed for 6 weeks. And it's like, 6 weeks, I'll starve. And Tweety says, well, we'll get you some food, Putty. What do you like to eat? Well, there's fish and there's liver and there's what, Putty? Never mind. I got to figure it out. And then at the end, Granny shows up with food, but ironically, all she brought is birdseed. So Sylvester has to eat that as well. There's another great cartoon that he did called Canned Feud, which is really good, which is, again, no Tweety in it, but, he is a cat left in the house while his owners go on vacation, and it's like, and they go, well, California, here we come. We'll be back next month or whenever. And Sylvester wakes up and watches them go, hey, they forgot to put out the cat. I'm the cat. And he realizes he's going to starve. So he's frantically looking through the,
people are terrible at taking care of Sylvester.
I know.
Poor cat.
And, so he's looking through the cupboards frantically for something to eat. Then he finds a whole cupboard full of tuna fish. And it's like, saved. Now all he needs is a can opener. He can't find the can opener. He's going nuts looking for it. And he hears a whistle. And there's this asshole of a mouse who's standing by the hole with a can opener. And it's like, here's my chance. Here's what you want. You ain't gonna get it. And so the whole thing is Sylvester is get the can from the can opener from the mouse. And the gags are really great.
Again, simple but impossible task. No one did it better than Sylvester.
Yep.
Let me make a proposal here. Because we are 45 minutes in.
Okay.
Right now. But I think right now it seems like it's going to come down to Tom or Sylvester.
The most iconic cats happened at the very beginning of animation.
But here's what I propose we do. We're going to take a quick break.
Yeah.
Hear from some other shows on the Max Fun Network. But when we come back, let's go through a list of some of these other cats and see if anybody's going to even make it into that final conversation.
Okay, we'll do a lightning round.
All right, that's what we're going to do.
Okay, great.
When we come back right after this.
Following the news is hard and it sucks.
How do you know which stories are important?
Which sources do you trust in this post-truth world of reactionary journalism?
I'm Brett Black.
And I'm Travis McElroy.
And we host a podcast called Trends Like These.
We cover trending news stories.
We debunk misleading clickbait headlines.
And we always try to throw in a little bit of good news.
In our quest for truth.
So join us every week on MaximumFun.org or wherever podcasts are found.
Mugs, shirts, stickers, patches, tanks, and more are yours for the purchasing at MaxFunStore.com. Hey, you already love the podcasts, so why not take this to the next level and outfit your home and bod with our merch? MaxFunStore.com. Because if you have to wear a shirt, it should be one of ours.
And we are back. And this is the quasi lightning round. We're going to try to find a cat to measure up to these two.
Yes, right.
Which is no short order. Mark, where are we starting?
We are going to begin with the most Cosby'd of all of the cats on this list, Penelope Pussycat.
Oh,
interesting.
Lord. Oh, Lord.
Oh, mon Dieu, mon sir, please do not insult me. Yes, the affection, amour of Pepe Le Pew.
The unrequited should probably take out a restraining order.
Yes.
Yeah, and also the number of ways she finds to mistakenly color her back white is astounding.
I'm not going to say she's asking for it.
No. That's like saying, what were you wearing, madam, when
Yeah.
There's a dog licking my knee right now.
Okay, well, come here, Pepe. Come on. He's doing the Pepe Le Pew, and you're like, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Do I have a white stripe painted down my back?
Hank, come here. Hank.
Thank you. Very sweet.
Hank, get over
All right, so Penelope Pussycat. Is she going to be Tom or Sylvester?
No, but she is appealing, and she... I think they made an effort in some latter-day stuff to make sure that she wasn't just a victim of what was going on. Or maybe it was consensual or something. I remember at least one where she liked him an awful lot, but she couldn't get over the smell. And, and he had his stent taken away and she had it put on and the roles were reversed. There was also one that takes place at a French zoo where a wildcat gets out and gets a stripe on her, and she basically takes him apart every time he comes toward her.
Yeah.
And I like to think in that one, that cat got revenge for all the other ones, and this maybe Pepe, Tank, get over here, learned a life. Come here, lesson.
I feel like
just shoo him away.
Oh, I hate shooing a dog. He's so sweet.
I know.
He's just being nice.
Get over here.
I do like Penelope Pussycat.
Yeah.
I believe when they were in the Louvre.
Yes.
She had maybe one of my favorite catchphrases of any of these, which was Le purr, le mew. Like a French cat would say le purr. It's so funny.
Yeah. She actually had a latter-day moment of glory as the girlfriend of Bugs Bunny, oddly enough, in Carrot Blanca, which they made about 20 years ago, something like that.
Wow.
They did a parody of Casablanca, and she was actually Sylvester's wife in that one, and it was revealed that she had a fling with Bugs, like Rick and Elsa had a fling in Casablanca. But even then, Pepe Le Pew was in the role of the French policeman who was chasing her around. So
sure, of course, he is insatiable.
Yeah,
insatiable.
But she's not making it.
She's not going to win.
No way.
No.
But honorable mention. Snagglepuss, another Hanna-Barbera classic.
Yeah,
I love Snagglepuss.
Snagglepuss is one of the legends.
Snagglepuss is great. He actually started as a villain in Quick Draw McGraw in one of the very first episodes of Quick Draw.
No kidding.
He was colored a little different. He was more of an orangey or a tan color. And he was, still had the same voice, but he was a sheep marauder and he took great pleasure in it. And he was always seen running back to the cave with a bull or a sheep. And you never saw them again. You got the idea you just devoured them in his cave. And he was a little more like this. Oh, Quick Draw, you're going to try and take me in, are you? And he was in about 4 or 5 quick draws, including a great one an El Kabong one where he actually dressed up as El Kazing, and the two of them are going at it as like Zorro type characters. It was really terrific. And I think that Bill and Joe must have liked Snagglepuss, or Mike Maltese, I think actually came up with him, liked him an awful lot because they found reasons to put him into Yacky Doodle cartoons and to other Augie Doggy cartoons. Mm-hmm. And I think they were really grooming him to be his own cat. And then they put him into his own cartoons where they firmly established him as a mountain lion, and they changed his color to pink, and they gave him the affectation of being a kind of a ham actor, somebody who was very pleased with his recitations of Shakespeare and stuff like that.
Which is a really funny character to play with.
Oh yeah, because you can put him in any situation, like he's going out and, oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I? And, he's trying to recite Shakespeare, and there's the big game hunter trying to blow his head off. So it's really good, but I always liked him. I always thought he had tremendous appeal and just a nicely designed character.
He's also one that is very memorable to most people because they just think that he has that pattern of like, I'm going to do this even. He developed those.
He was even an SNL character, even.
Yeah. It's like, and he's got his own comic book now, even, which goes into more of his, they made him a kind of a Tennessee Williams type character. And,
I like this theatricality of him because looking back, it's the answer to Tom. Tom doesn't talk. We're going to make a cartoon cat now who, when he does talk, it's freaking Shakespeare.
Well, it's sort of interesting. They did give him in 2 cartoons, they gave him a girlfriend who was a real.
They gave him a beard.
Yeah. She was a real shrew. I mean, real shrew. And it's almost like Sylvester, at some point he's turning to the camera. Why am I putting up with this? I mean, come on. Huckleberry, I'm sorry. Just ignore her. It's exactly. I'm fulfilling my contract. It's all right, Snag. I'll see you at home later.
All right. Moving on to 1960.
Yeah.
A trans artists production.
Sorry. Quick. I wanted to throw in a quick shout out to Mr. Jinx.
Oh, yes, that's right. I'm sorry. My apologies.
No. But as long as we're doing the Huckleberry Hound, we got to mention old Jinxie.
He does hate those Mises.
He hates those Mises to pieces. And I love the way he talks, that kind of hipster type drawl that he had. And again, I think Bill and Joe had been drawing cats for so long, they just got the design down perfectly. He was just a really, really good looking character.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
All right. Well, shout out to Jinxie.
All right.
Now we're moving on to I'm going to be honest, this one was not on my radar.
Okay.
Courageous Cat.
Courageous Cat, created by Bob Kane.
Really?
Bob Kane created Courageous Cat and Minute Mouse. And as a way of cashing in on Batman, and he was looking for a way to repeat the success that he had with Batman, Bill Finger and everybody else who worked with him. So I don't know the whole history, but I do know that he was responsible for their creation, and it came out at a time just around the time of Batman, and he was looking for a way to capitalize on that. So you go back to what you know, and so two characters fighting wacky criminals.
Yeah, he had the gadget guns.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the hallmarks. He was Catman.
Yeah,
let's be honest. He was Catman.
Yeah, Catman, cash in for Bob again, payday for Bob.
All right. But let's say he's probably not going to make it.
No,
the finalist that we think he is. All right. Moving on to Top Cat. TC.
Top Cat. Great character. Well, lots of fun. It was always kind of a crime they only did the 30 episodes and out. I felt they could have gone on for a long time with Top Cat. He's just a very engaging character. Kind of like Hanna-Barbera at the time, they were taking their cues from primetime television, like the Honeymooners was, they adapted that to the Flintstones. And so You'll Never Get Rich, the Sergeant Bilko show is obviously the model for Top Cat, where you've got a hustler character and the, Arnold Stang doing his, Phil Silver's voice, and even Maurice Gosfeld, who was, Bilko's, crony in that show, is Benny the Ball. I like all those episodes an awful lot. In fact, Misty and I will throw them on like at 2 a.m. and we'll go, let's watch some Top Cat. It doesn't get old. And there's so much good about those episodes. The design work is good. The backgrounds are good. They really try to catch a New York feel to it. Even some of the episodes will start with a very New Yorky sound. Like they'll do that, the slide, like the clarinet slide from, Rhapsody in Blue, or something like that. Yeah. Over Hoagie's Alley and Top Cat's always hustling something and everything. I have one great Top Cat story that I have to tell. And,
Please.
And this is kind of a good one and very apropos to things that are going on now. About 12 years ago, Warner Premiere was looking at a way they were going to do a lot more DVDs, and they do DVDs like the Justice League and Wonder Woman and a lot of superhero stuff, and they do the Tom and Jerry's and things like that. And they've always been curious about doing more Hanna-Barbera characters like than just Scooby-Doo. And so they called me and they said, if you ever have any ideas, come in and pitch them. And I said, okay, give it some thought. And I came up with an idea for a Top Cat DVD that I liked an awful lot. And the pitch, and I went in and pitched it to them, and they liked the story, and they said, okay, well, we'll think about it. And the story was this. Top Cat comes in possession of the original deed to New York City. He comes into possession of half of it. And it's like the bearer of this half of this document owns the, New Amsterdam or whatever it was, it was like, this is the deed to the city, boys. If we can find the other half, we'll own the city. It'll be all ours. And they go out looking for it and they discover the owner of the other half of the document is Donald Trump.
Wow.
And Trump finds out, what? All these cats have the deed. I want the deed. I'm going to get the deed. And it was this battle back and forth to get the deed of New York City. And originally when I wrote it, it's like a Donald Trump-like villain, like that. And then I thought maybe it could be Trump and maybe we could approach him. And I was running the story by my friend Arlene Sorkin, who does the voice of Harley Quinn. And she said, I've actually worked with Trump's people because they have this whole entertainment division. And Arlene is also a writer and producer. She said, let me call them. And I said, oh, yeah, you don't have to, but if you want to, that's fine. Within a day, I heard back, he'll do it. He was up for it. His people were interested. His entertainment division, they talked to Arlene and said, it sounds like fun. He's up for it. He does request that he, he had the request that he not look like a total bad guy in it. And the idea was, you can have all sorts of fun with him. You can make fun of him. You know, it's all in good fun. But he really requests that at the end, he and Top Cat are friends, or that he's shown not to be a bad guy, and that he's able to, have a nice moment at the end and not be a total heel. And I thought, great. Oh, good. He's a good sport. So let's do it. So I wrote the premise like there's this big battle back and forth. And I thought, oh, we can have all sorts of fun with him. And at the end, as long as he and Top Cat are arm in arm in the alley and, having a good time, let's do it. Well, I went back to Warner's, and then they, and then had another meeting with them. They said, yeah, we're not going to go for it. I said, well, how come? And, I got Donald Trump lined up to do his own voice. And they said, yeah, well, we pitched these to, moms are the ones who buy the DVDs, and moms just don't know Top Cat anymore. And it's like the moms coming up now grew up with Scooby-Doo. And it was the moms before them that grew up with Top Cat. And it's a harder sell, and so we're not going to do it. So I called Arlene back and I said, just tell them thanks, but no thanks. So, but I thought that would have been so cool. Wow. I mean, you think about it in hindsight, we could have had the president of the United States doing a voice in a Top Cat cartoon. And, you wonder what it would have been like if he had done it. And,
of course, the flip side of that is, did you hear that guy from that cartoon got in the White House?
Yeah, there you go. I mean, how weird would that be? It's weird. So, I have to give him props for being a good sport about it. Right. So,
yeah.
All right. Okay. This is one that could give us, we're moving on. We are now to 1969. That was 1961. Top Cat was invented. Yep. We're moving on to one that could be up there.
Yeah.
1969 was the invention of the Pink Panther.
Yeah. An
iconic character.
A real strong contender. Mm-hmm. I mean, like Sylvester, largely masterminded by Friz Freleng, or to a great degree. And Friz took a lot of what he knew about cartoons, especially with silent humor, and put that to work on the Pink Panther, because again, a character who doesn't talk very much. And a very Chaplin-esque character in that you could put him in any role, and he would usually his confidence and his style and his appeal, as well as just his stick-to-itiveness, would get him out of the situation. Usually, almost always a positive character, kind of a heroic character, somebody you could really empathize with, and very imaginative in what they had him do, especially in the early cartoons where they were playing with the ideas of color and where he was a more mischievous character who sort of existed to paint things pink and to bedevil other characters. And the only time he really didn't work is when they gave him a voice, like one or two cartoons where they had him sort of doing the David Niven stuff. It's like, who's this guy? He's too much like Snagglepuss, it's like.
That's the whole Chaplin, if he talks, he loses the match.
He had more style and class not speaking than when you gave him a voice.
Then they gave him a voice, and then he started selling paint.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what set him down the path of selling paint.
To paint.
Yeah.
Hey, listen to that guy. He's going to be the voice of paint.
All right, we got to give him number one for the best theme song.
Best theme song.
For sure.
Best theme song.
Absolutely the best theme song.
Even though the Tom and Jerry fanfare is really good, you got to
you can't.
No.
Yeah.
Hands down.
That said, he is a strong contender.
But
does he knock Tom or Sylvester out of the top slot?
No.
Nope.
And I'll tell you why, and at least my feeling on it, and chime in,
I will chime
with your,
I'll chime all over the place.
Yeah, great. The thing with him is the others read as cats. I think when you go down like domestic cat, that there is a level of empathy you get with Tom and with Sylvester, because they don't stray far from cats that that you might have and that you really relate to them.
Yeah.
The Pink Panther is much more of an everyman, but he might have been the purple penguin for the cattishness that he has. He has cat style and he has the cat coolness to him, but he's in a lot of situations where he's got a job or he's working, he's doing something very human-like, and he doesn't even have the pantherish qualities of Snagglepuss when he's being chased around the jungle or anything like that.
With that said,
yes,
I want to take 2 off the list right now.
Yeah. Okay.
So we don't even have to talk about them. One is Hello Kitty, which has been officially announced to be a little girl and not a cat.
Yeah, okay.
And number 2 is the Thundercats, who are basically muscular people. Yeah. It looks like they're in, like, if instead of making
crossing them off right now,
it's like cosplay.
Yeah, it would be like if
wild animal cosplay.
They look like the cast of Cats on steroids.
Yes, exactly.
It would be like if it's instead of if it wasn't about cats in an alley, if it was just about cats in a bodybuilding contest, then you'd have Thundercats. Although everybody loves the swords, I get it.
Yeah.
Kids who are my age or a little bit younger think Thundercats are the
who
coolest.
are your age.
Listen,
40.
Whatever, man. You're 40.
How dare you? Not yet.
Damn it.
All right. So we're to there. I guess I lied earlier. There is one more Disney cat to talk about from 1972, originally created by A.A. Milne in 1928.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
We didn't talk about Tigger.
Tigger.
Tigger's got to be a finalist.
Tigger's,
right?
Yeah, he's up there. Yeah, he is. It's like. Although, he walks the line. Is he a cat or is he a toy?
That's the thing. And also, or is he a Tigger?
He's a Tigger. He's the only one.
He is, I am the only one. I am a Tigger.
Yeah.
So that may eliminate species, man.
That may eliminate Tigger if he's the only one and he never says I'm a cat.
No, but he's clearly
he's a Tigger.
He's the only one.
You gotta include him on the list, if no other reason for the magnificent animation that Milt Kahl did on him. Because when you consider that Milt Kahl went from animating Shere Khan like this to Tigger like this, and it was the same guy.
Yeah,
it's really wonderful. The guy had a way with striped characters, and I have to digress really quickly. The great cartoon Tiger Trouble that he animated the tiger in the Goofy cartoon, which really was a tremendously animated character too. But Kahl gave Tigger a lot of feline qualities, like when he's knocking over poo, when he's growling at himself in the mirror, where he's doing all those little things. He really does have the essence of the cat in him. So even though he's ostensibly a tiger and a toy tiger, you got to add him to the list. And on appeal, everybody loves Tigger.
Everybody loves Tigger.
And I would put him as a finalist. Because he's such here's what he brings that is the opposite of both of the characters who are presumed finalists.
Yeah.
He is pure joy. He is pure unbound spirit.
Yeah.
And no sense of selfishness.
Find me a person on this planet who doesn't love Tigger, and I will show you a villainous person who is not deserving of our love.
Tigger is every cat who rolls over and begs for a belly rub.
Yes.
He really is. He really is.
All right. So Tigger is moving on to, is up there in the pantheon so far.
Yeah.
With Tom and Sylvester. So it's Tom, Sylvester, and Tigger.
Yeah.
Great theme song too.
Another Disney cat we have to shout, at least mention, is Bagheera in Jungle Book.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Again, a great cat, protector. And again, the animation on him is all pure cat. It's like they studied a leopard and knew how to draw it.
Yeah. They studied a leopard and gave him Felix Unger's.
Yes, exactly.
Felix Unger's personality.
Yes.
And they were like, oh, there we go. There's Bagheera.
Yeah.
All right. So, in the interest of speeding along, I know we have a lot left.
Let's hit some notables.
Hit some notables. There's a few that are on this list.
Okay.
Look, I love Kate McManus.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that,
this is my fault. Don't put it on her. I asked for an exhaustive list.
You asked for an exhaustive list, which is how we wound up spending so much time talking about Courageous Cat.
Okay. All right.
Let's talk about Azrael, Gargamel's pet cat.
Don't like him.
You don't like him?
He's all right.
He's adorable. I'm not a cat person, admittedly. I am a dog person through and through. I do like Azrael.
He's named after the Angel of Death, for God's sake, Hal.
I know. He's not a finalist, but I just love the how mean he is. Just
and I actually feel sorry for him because he's often the target of Gargamel's ire, and yet there are a couple of cartoons. I don't know if they're in the TV show or if they were in the original pay. I've got a lot of the Smurf albums here. I read a lot of French cartoons. There are a couple where Azrael is in trouble and Gargamel really misses him or feels for him or he's going to miss him or he's concerned about him and he really loves that cat. I mean, you got to, and that's the one thing about Gargamel that kind of makes him, human.
This is one redeeming feature.
That's what Azrael does for that show. Is it gives Gargamel roundness.
It does. It does.
Okay. So now we are moving into the era that you may need to recuse yourself from many of these, because I'm imagining that a lot of these that we're about to mention, you had some hand in, beginning with Cringer.
Oh, yeah.
Who will, of course, turn into Battle Cat from the Masters of the Universe. He-Man's pet.
Yeah. Oh, Adam, I'm so scared. Oh, man up, Cringer. You know,
did you draw Cringer? Did you? Or did you write? I mean, draw for it.
Do you like Cringer better than Battle Cat, or is that just me?
Oh, I liked them both. I mean,
Fair.
you know, I always thought, you know, give poor Cringer, if he had a choice, he'd be Battle Cat all the time. And, you know,
that was one of my favorite toys.
Yeah.
That Cringer Battle Cat combo.
Yeah.
And do not try to put that, Battle Cat outfit.
No.
On an actual cat.
You tried that.
Don't try, do not, because first of all, it's just a little bit too small.
Yeah.
Not a lot too small.
Yeah.
Just a little too small. Cats don't like that.
It'll work on a squirrel, though.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Now we're moving on to. Guys, here's another good one. I don't know. You did mention enjoying French cartoons.
Yes.
Heathcliff. Heathcliff is a jerk.
Yeah, he's a jerk, and he's sort of like a bum as a cat. You know, he's got that sort of roundish look, and I think he's got a grandfather or uncle who's actually a convict or something.
Mm-hmm.
What I liked Heathcliff most was his voice. I felt that Mel Blanc came up with a good voice for him. It was, it shook hands with Bugs Bunny. It wasn't quite Bugs Bunny. It was a little, it was a good goofy voice for the character. And, the comic strip I never really took a shine to, because it was just, you know,
it's just a lot of fish skeletons.
Yeah, there's a whole lot. He always has a fish skeleton on a tray.
It can't be. He can't be the best cat character if all I think of is trash and fish skeletons.
Yeah,
there's one cat who never makes any list of this, and I do have to pull him in and mention him again. There is a great strip by an artist named Gus Ariella called Gordo, and Gordo was a strip that was beautifully drawn. I'll show you some originals. I'm in the other room.
Yeah.
It was set in a small Mexican village, and it ran from the 40s up until the mid 80s. And Ariella himself was Mexican, and it was of its time, showing people, Mexican villagers, as rather caricatured, which he gradually weeded out of the strip once it got into the 60s. So by the end of its run, it was pretty urbane and well done. He had a couple of cats in there that were just terrific. He had one cat called Pussy Gato, who for a long time was the focus of the strip. And it was beautifully drawn and beautifully emotion, and one of the funniest cats ever in comic strips. And he knew how to draw a cat, and he knew what went through their heads. And I just got to throw that out there. So if you're a student of cartoons, you just got to hunt that up.
All right.
There you go.
Well noted.
All right. So moving on from Heathcliff to, Hal eliminated, our next one from 1985, the Thundercats.
By Thundercats.
Now we're moving on to 1988, a very beloved cat, whose paws are frequently turned into suction cups and stuck to the windows of your car, as voiced by Lorenzo Music. It is, of course, Garfield.
Now,
from 1988.
This is a fun piece of trivia that may or may not be true, and I feel like Paul will tell me if I'm wrong. Yeah. But they originally wanted Bill Murray to play Garfield in the animated series, and there was something they couldn't get. The voice of Garfield, Lorenzo Music's voice, they wanted someone who sounded like Bill Murray. And then when Bill Murray did not do Ghostbusters, Lorenzo Music filled in for him. There's some like Lincoln secretary was Kennedy, and Kennedy
Lorenzo Music is the roadshow Bill Murray.
I'd like to phone a friend.
Yes.
Can I phone a friend?
Yes.
Please.
All right. Great. I will phone a friend, because we have got to I cannot answer that question without consulting.
This is incredible. We're going to have a live phone call.
A literal phone a friend.
On the air.
Oh my God. Is he going to call Bill Murray right now?
He could call Bill Murray.
Or is he going to call Lorenzo Music?
He can't. Lorenzo Music passed away.
Oh. Did Bill Murray pass away?
No, Bill Murray killed Lorenzo Music.
Wait, what?
He's coming back.
I hear beeping. There's a phone being used. I love this. A phone a friend.
This is a first.
This is epic.
Let's see.
I'm gonna be so wrong, but this was well worth it. Right now, listeners, Paul Dini is dialing his phone. We don't know who he's calling.
I'm calling the expert on all things Garfield, Mark Evanier, and he will hopefully answer this question.
Oh, this is exciting.
Hey, it's Paul Dini. How are you? Good. You got a minute? Okay, great. All right, bye. He's going to call back.
Okay. I just remembered what I got wrong.
What?
Which is Lorenzo Music was the voice of Peter Venkman on the Real Ghostbusters.
Right.
And then when they made the Garfield films, Lorenzo Music had passed.
Right.
And they had Bill Murray play it. So they've each voiced a character that the other originated.
Okay. We
that was
figured
it.
Out.
But if your friend calls back.
Yes. If he calls back, I'm going to put you on speaker and you can ask him the question.
I will explain. Yeah. I will.
Mark Evanier is, a tremendous writer and a very good friend of ours, and he writes everything with Garfield in it. Every animated appearance of Garfield he writes.
Wow.
And so he writes the show. He's written the show on CBS. He's writing the show now, the current show being produced in France. He's written specials.
What's the 3D animated one?
That's the one running on Cartoon Network.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, he's writing that one.
That's not the French one though.
I believe it is. Yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah. And he is an expert on all things Jim Cummings and all things Garfield. And
boy, Jim Cummings.
So yeah.
We're gonna talk legendary cartoon voice actors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did I say Jim Cummings? I meant
you meant Jim Davis.
Oh, Jim Davis.
I meant Jim Davis.
I was hoping very briefly that after Lorenzo Music died and Bill Murray did the movies, if Jim Cummings had come up with, and now he's the Garfield voice, which
could be
amazing.
Can Mark confirm my theory that Lyman is actually a drifter who's left a wake of bodies behind him wherever he's gone?
I don't know about that. Well, he might. We don't know. I have to say that when I put him on the phone, that's all for me because he's got all the good stories and everything like that. So.
But I'm a huge Garfield fan.
I'm a big Garfield fan too.
Yeah.
I loved all of the compendiums of the strips and the strips themselves. Mm-hmm. I love the animated series and US Acres that came out of that as well. Here's where my issue comes.
Actually, he should have been your guest instead of me because he knows the same stuff I do. In fact, even more.
No, too bad. You're locked in.
Yeah, okay. I can switch over to condiments, but that was on the list also.
Well, you'll come back for condiments. Okay. Believe me.
Oh yeah,
right.
I wonder if Garfield is really more notorious for his print work than his animation work.
I think that's probably the case.
And maybe that keeps him out.
Garfield as a strip more than as, and when I think of Garfield, I think of those little oblong books that I used to buy in the late 80s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that might be because the perfect version of Garfield is the print version, not the animated versions aren't fantastic.
Yeah.
That might keep him out of the finals.
But Garfield, by benefit of just the sheer volume of the books and everything, is like, got to be there. Oh, hey, wait a minute. If we're going to talk comic strips and we're going to put Tigger in there, we got to talk about Hobbs.
Yeah.
There was never was there ever an animated?
There was.
Oh, sure. We're doing animation.
There was an animated.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking comic strips, Hobbs is
print.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We did a best comic strip episode.
Oh, yeah.
And we chose Peanuts over Calvin and Hobbs.
And it is
of the many episodes that we are well over 100 episodes deep into this podcast. And, I think that is probably the most visceral response I've received from people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Understandably. But because he's not animated, Hobbs is losing again. He's not even making it to the table.
Although it is funny to think like maybe Tigger and Hobbs are litter mates. And then you could do Felix and Oscar,
Yes.
My poor brother Tigger, he's not really right in the head,
Oh man, Tigger and Hobbs.
Tigger and Hobbs,
like, I would watch that buddy cop show. just two like plush cats in a convertible.
Yeah.
Hobbs, Tigger, get in here. Put your badge down.
Yeah, who made a mess of the city on that last one?
And then Tigger comes out and he goes, Hobbs, when'd you catch that guy? He ran right by you. And he goes, well, he was looking at me and I had to be a stuffed animal.
Toy Story rules, man. Toy Story rules.
That's something that's left over from when he was just a rookie out on the streets.
Yeah, that's right.
I shot a kid like that. He's like that Die Hard story.
Yeah.
Ever since then, when people look at me, I just have to be a stuffed animal, man.
I tell you, Tigger and Hobbs, it's waiting to be done.
Yeah.
God.
All right. Moving on to 1989.
Yes.
We're jumping over to Springfield.
Yes.
And there are two, actually 6 technically.
I think there are 6, right?
There are technically 6 cats that we are dealing with on The Simpsons. That would be Snowballs 1 through 5.
Yes.
And Scratchy.
Yes.
Of Itchy and Scratchy. Scratchy is not going to go up against Tom in the finals.
No.
He is a parody.
He is a parody of
Tom specifically.
Yeah.
Tom specifically.
I don't even think we all love The Simpsons.
Yeah.
I don't even think it warrants discussion.
Yeah, no. The Snowballs 1 through 5, all they did was
Snowball's notable for being dead.
Yeah, that's.
And then there's Crazy Cat Lady who's
yes.
You know,
and all of her cats.
Oh yeah.
Throw them at you.
I have to say, I don't think Scratchy has ever been funnier than. I can make my sister laugh like doing this when Marge got them to change the cartoons, and they're doing this cartoon called Porch Pals, and they're rocking the chairs.
Lemonade, please. Thank you.
I'll just say the word lemonade to my sister. She thinks that's the funniest moment that's ever been put on The Simpsons, and I agree with her.
Oh my goodness.
They're never funnier when they're not being itchy and scratchy.
All right, here's another contender.
Yeah.
We're moving up to 1991 on Nickelodeon.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Stimpy of Ren and Stimpy.
Oh, Stimson J. Cat.
Yeah.
Stimson J. Cat.
He qualifies more as a potato than a cat, I think. But I guess he makes
Yeah, he does it a human butt.
Yeah.
Gloves with fingernails on them.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant.
I mean, he's hilarious. That first season of Ren and Stimpy, I would put up in what is one of the greatest animated seasons of television.
Stimpy had one moment, one feline moment, and it was in, I think it was Man's Best Friend, the censored episode. They're in a pet shop window and Ren goes, "Hey, look, a human. Look cute," or something. And they go to like a photo or a realistic painting of a real Chihuahua and a real red cat. And they're playing like real dog sounds over it. And George Licker's looking in like, "Yeah, I'll buy them." And he goes and buys them. And it's like,
it's ridiculous.
And then they did an episode where they actually did the mom and dad character bring in, Ren dresses up like a mouse and they have Stimpy chase him like a cat and everything. Yeah. So every once in a while he'd have his catnish in him, but he's a great character.
Yeah, great character, not much of a cat. And maybe that sort of pulls him out. Although I can't believe this is the only Billy West character.
I know.
On this
friend of the podcast, Billy West,
former guest Billy,
who told us on this very show that he based the voice of Stimpy on. He was just doing a Larry Fine impression. Was it Larry Fine on caffeine? He said
something like that.
Yeah.
Billy does not only Larry, he does all the Stooges extremely well.
That was our episode. Was Best Stooge?
Yeah.
And he went through all of the Stooges.
Did he do? Did he
Curly Joe?
Curly Joe,
Dorita.
Oh yeah.
Did he tell you about the record of the Christmas album he did? He did a Christmas album called Christmas Party with Eddie G with a friend of ours, Eddie Gorodatsky, who co-created Mom and works on Big Bang Theory and everything. And years ago, and Eddie was famous for doing these mixtapes and then mix CDs of bizarre Christmas music. And he did one for sale, and the connective tissue in it was the Three Stooges in the late 50s recording a Christmas album. And Larry is the meanest bastard throughout it. It's great. It's just great listening to it. They blow every take. Eddie's playing the guy who the engineer is barely paying attention. And it's, Larry's like, "Hey pal, I got 2 words for you and they ain't Merry Christmas." And it's just great. It's brilliant stuff. And it's Mo, Larry, and Joe Dorita, and Joe he's so afraid of the other guys. He can barely speak.
Oh, jeez.
You gotta hunt that up. It's called Christmas Party with Eddie G. You can find it online. It's
fantastic.
It's great.
All right. Let me ask you guys, I just have a few questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, just a couple thoughts. Do you guys think that Luna and Artemis from the Sailor Moon stories are going to beat our top contenders?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
How about this? Do you think Rita, as voiced by Bernadette Peters, from Rita and Runt on the WB, is going to beat our finalists?
No, I don't think so. Nice lady, really a nice lady and beautiful singer, and Rita was a fun character. But,
but not gonna.
No.
How about Meowth?
No, not really a cat.
No,
just a cat-shaped Pokemon.
Lizard, bratty
sure.
thing.
Yeah.
How about the cat half of Cat Dog?
It's only half a cat.
Did you work on any of these shows? I'm sorry for skimming through them so quickly. If you have fun stories,
a little bit Rita and Runt, but not to really talk about. Cat Dog, I never liked because I saw Ren and Stimpy and I thought, you're going to do another cat and dog? Why are you doing this? These guys, it's like, And
our final one of this list, that popped up in 2015. We've gone from 1919 to 2015, and that is Puss in Boots.
Oh, really great.
Hilarious
really great
cartoon.
Character. Yeah.
By the way, Eric Bauza
rules the earth.
So great. And I met him back in like 2008. We did stuff for Jib Jab together.
Yeah.
He was just starting out and you knew like he was doing these flawless impressions of Peter Griffin from Family Guy. Like super nice.
Yeah.
Super talented. We work on a show together now and he's just like, cannot say enough nice things about the human outside of the range of talent he has.
He is just a terrific guy. Misty was doing a show at the Magic Castle this last Halloween, and they were doing a Day of the Dead theme, and she had a music composer friend do a very stirring theme, and she realized, I would really love to get like Ricardo Montalban or somebody with that warmth to do this. And she asked Eric, and almost right away he recorded something and gave it to her. It was beautiful, and he just did it.
Wow,
he's that kind of
a nice guy.
Nice guy, and I think he's all the Beagle Boys in the DuckTales revival. And it just said Beagle Boys, Eric Bauza, so I guess he's doing them all, or they all have the same voice. He's terrific. He's great.
Yeah, and he sound. You would think Antonio Banderas had continued in the role, and yet he manages to make it his own. He's super talented. That being said,
shout out to Akron Blacker as well.
Oh yes, Akron Blacker from Tony Venture Hour, who wrote for Puss in Boots.
Oh yeah.
But I can't see Puss in Boots, as fun a character as he is, toppling anybody that either Pink Panther or Tom or Sylvester.
We didn't put Pink Panther up there. We put Tom, Sylvester, and Tigger up there.
Oh, Tigger.
Yeah.
Sorry, Pink Panther. You got eliminated twice.
Yep.
Too bad. Hoity-toity.
Can we?
All right, I got a little tap in my brain. I have to shout out to my own.
Please.
The Snow Leopard character, Tashi from Jingle Bell, who would be real pissed at me if I didn't mention her. Hi, Tashi. You're not going to be on the list. And you're more of a girl than a cat, but still Tashi. You're really pretty and everybody likes you and you have your own legion of fans, and I will not discuss them.
You go.
Yes. And she's a great hockey player, but that's as far as we go, Tashi.
There you go. One more thing about her.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So we have 3 finalists now. That got us almost 100 years of animated cats.
Yeah.
Fellas, I did not think that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, you want a list of the ones we didn't mention?
Oh my God.
There's Schnookums from Schnookums and Meat. There's Cyan Am from Lady and the Tramp. There's the Chattanooga Cats from Hanna-Barbera.
I knew some Chattanooga Cats back when I grew up in Tennessee.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Cattanooga Cats, or something like that. It was a bad show. It was a terrible show. Okay,
so we have our 2 finalists.
Shut. Okay, all right. Baby Puss. Baby Puss has to be on the list.
Who's Baby Puss?
He's the Flintstones saber-toothed cat.
Of course.
And there's currently a squeaky, not a squeaky, formerly squeaky version. Vintage toy
he's
of him.
Obviously smarter than Fred because he gets him locked out of the house
every time.
Why can't Fred figure out? First of all, saber-toothed tiger, not a small animal.
No.
Animal goes in through the window.
Yeah.
Window has no pane, no curtain, no rocks or sticks over it. Fred bangs on the door, not smart enough to realize he might be able to get through that window.
Yeah.
He is no saber-toothed cat, though.
No.
I guess not.
He just stands outside and yells for Wilma. I'll digress again. I actually pitched Joe Barbera an idea for doing a short with the two of them. That is, Fred takes Baby Puss, throws him out. He jumps through the window, and then you see what's inside. And it's realistic animation of a caveman beating the shit out of a saber-tooth. And the saber-tooth is ripping into him and clawing and slashing. And there's blood, and it's like, and they're both screaming, and he's beating him with a club. And then he drags him outside, and then just drops him out again. And then he jumps back in, and the whole thing happens. And then it ends with Fred outside going, Wilma.
Wilma!
And the last shot is Wilma in bed going, Fred, cut your toenails. And the cat's sleeping next to her. And it's like, and I pitched it to Joe, and he kind of went, we're not going to make that one. And he actually did wind up making one with Baby Puss as a kitten and menacing Dino. So a good idea is a good idea. But
there you go.
He's in maybe 5 episodes of the actual show and has 1 line of dialogue.
Wow.
And all that. And then
who voiced him? Do you know?
Dawes. And I'll tell you the episode. It was Pebble's birthday, the one that has the showgirls in it, the one where Fred has to gets the wrong, hires the wrong caterer. It opens in a long sequence where Fred is snoring. Obviously has sleep apnea. And he's snoring and snoring and snoring and waking up everybody. And the cat's asleep on his bed. And the cat actually gets blown off the bed by the snoring. And Dawes has this one line where he goes, I said I'm going to go sleep at this animal shelter, and he runs off. Probably never to be seen again.
And that was the end.
That was the end.
From then on, Fred got into that house every night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
And hopefully Baby Puss was adopted by a nice family.
Baby Puss went to the caveman equivalent of a farm upstate.
Yeah.
Yes. All
right.
That's a little sad. But maybe he was adopted later by the Jetsons, or he did some work and became Top Cat. Who knows?
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
There's a lot of possibilities for that character.
Okay. All right.
We've had our finalists.
We have.
Yes.
We have our 3 finalists. Mm-hmm. I want to take, we do this every once in a while. I want to take the temperature of the room. We have our 3 finalists.
Okay.
I would like to count to 3.
Yes.
Everybody think real hard about, of those 3 finalists, Tigger, Sylvester, or Tom.
And those are we just say one of those 3.
We say, it'll be 1, 2, 3, go. And I'm not going to say go, but
1, 2, 3, cat name.
Ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Just to see where we are and if we are in any sort of agreement on this.
And if we get it right, we're home free. We're done.
If we get it right, we're home free. If not, this is going to be a 6-part episode, guys.
Yes, that's right. Ken Burns, best cartoon cat.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Sylvester. People of the world. We had this settled so long ago. You probably saw it coming down the pike, and we forced Paul Dini to sit at a table with us and tell us stories about cartoons. But
we have him tied to the chair.
We have him tied to the chair right now.
Mm-hmm. No.
And you're never getting out of the cock-a-doodle chair.
Yeah.
Now, we gave you all the reasons already. You heard Sylvester's got more range than any cartoon cat we have on this list combined. Not that others aren't beloved. Not that others aren't smart. Not that others aren't funny or interesting or keep our attention. But Sylvester, folks, has it all. And again, this harkens back to, we did classic Warner Brothers versus classic Disney animation and shorts. Yeah. And Warner Brothers cleaned the clock of Disney in that department. And we didn't even get into half of what makes Sylvester great then. Mm-hmm. Adam, you asked and we answered. This is asked and answered. Sylvester is the greatest cartoon cat of all time.
Yes.
Paul, thank you so much for joining. This was a marathon.
What a treat of an episode.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, tell everybody where they can find you. What should they be watching right now? Anything you want to promote, the floor is yours.
I'm around, man. Just
come hang out at the house.
I'm around, yeah. You know, it's what am I doing? I'm writing Harley Quinn every other week with Jimmy Palmiotti. That's
which you created, Harley Quinn. I did create
with Bruce Timm. We created Harley Quinn
together.
Yeah, and it's Harley's 25th anniversary.
Congratulations!
Happy birthday,
yeah, thank you. We've got some books coming out on that. Bruce has a movie that he wrote and directed. I think it's coming out later this year, and
awesome.
I've got some comics and some stuff I can't talk about, and some exciting stuff.
Is it the secrets to Misty's magic tricks?
No, it's Harley Quinn stuff, but I just can't talk about it right now. And let's see, what else have I got? Episodes of Justice League Action, which is on Saturday morning on Cartoon Network, real early.
Awesome.
Wrote some episodes of that, and just a lot of stuff in the works.
This topic is settled, but we want to hear from you. What are the topics you need us to solve? Hit us up on Gmail. That's wegotThisPodcast@gmail.com, or go to our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/wegotThisPodcast.
Or reach out to us on Twitter @WeGotThisTweets, or check out the Maximum Fun subreddit. A flame war could be happening right now.
Thank you to producer Ken Plume, researcher Kate McManus, who did so much work on this in a very short period of time. Thank you, Kate. Graphic designer Uri Kelman, and QA engineer Jen Alba.
Thank you, as always, to our musicians, Jonathan Dinerstein and Mike Furman, for our score and theme song, respectively. And thanks to you, our listeners. We will always be the Sylvester to your Porky Pig, by your side, telling you what to do. That's not correct.
Yes. No, that's
correct.
You know
what? That seems right.
Yep.
Yeah. You know what? We love you guys. Thank you for giving us a chance to talk to the great Paul Dini about such a topic that I did not realize was so in-depth. And boy, was it a blast chatting with you.
It was.
Thank you for doing this.
Yes.
And to our listeners, thank you so much. For Hal Lublin, I'm Mark Gagliardi.
For Mark Gagliardi, I'm Hal Lublin, and don't worry, everybody. We got this.
We got this.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned.
Listener supported.